Welcome everyone to the Cameron Hanzo Appreciation Club. The Squadcast. Great show for you today. Let's jump into it. I want to hear all about your guys' thoughts on the meta. What's good? What's not good? I'll kick it off a little bit with a couple tidbits of my thoughts. I climbed up a bunch using Riven Victor. I don't think the deck is great. If you're going to play against like the top decks, like Yordle and Arms, Pantheon. Maybe Aphelios PNZ, which those decks are like some of them, at least two of them are doing quite well. And so I think if you're climbing up to Masters, it's great. Other than that, I don't think it's particularly good. And that the meta is like kind of a weird place where like there are those top decks, but like it's kind of going wide. People are trying like a lot of really unique stuff, like just like all kinds of different pairings. There's seeing a lot of PNZ Ionia trying to make like stuff just happen. There's like a bunch of different champs. That's kind of what I've been seeing. I'm interested. Give me your thoughts. What have you guys been playing? What do you think's good? What do you think's not good? Why? Whoever.
I'll lead us off. I think the meta is awesome right now. I think there's a ton of stuff out there. I think the top decks are still kind of the top decks. He is out there. Pantheon's out there still. They've been knocked down a peg, and I think the Demacia Yia deck actually did get hit the hardest, which is weird because I expected the PNC one to take a bigger hit, but it seems to be doing better on the stats right now. But there's a ton of new stuff. Victor seems to be playable in literally every single other color if you wanted to, which is crazy. Because I really didn't think that change was going to make a difference, but apparently the difference between 1 and 0 mana is massive. So it's been really fun to play around with a lot of different stuff. It's been nice to see Aphelios back. The change to Crescendo ended up being better than I thought it would be. It doesn't feel like a bad card to play. So I'm pretty happy with where the meta's going. I've been playing like stuff like Ziggs Talia even, which is a deck that I didn't have faith in before, and it felt good. Everything I've played has felt good. I think the meta is far from settled though, and I think people are way overreacting with Mono Shurima.
I mean, I'll take that on Mono Shurima. Mono Shurima is a good deck. It's going to become a meta mainstay, I would imagine, but it's not like the picker band that people want to make it out to be, essentially. It's a good deck, and people have built good decks to go against it, like Riven Victor, but it's just going to end up being a very strong mid-range deck. I climbed pretty far with it, and then meta shifted slightly, and it's probably can't climb nearly as easily as you could in like day one, but it's a good deck.
Yeah. My take on it is that the deck's really good, and what it did is it kind of just warped the format around it, where because so many people were playing Mono Shurima, you basically couldn't play a deck that was bad into it. So all the decks that were left were good into Mono Shurima. Mono Shurima then slowly starts to die out. Now you're seeing a lot of Aphelios PNZ, different control decks, other kind of stuff that's coming up to combat those like really fast linear decks that are good against Mono Shurima. And then we'll eventually, when that starts to tip a bit and those get pushed down, you'll see Mono Shurima start doing good again. It'll be a bit of a mixed bag. So yeah, the deck it's good. It's just good though. It's just another good deck. That's it. Has some good matchups, has some bad matchups. Definitely strong, definitely not tier 0. But that's about it. I'm interested to see though, I don't know if any I'm interested to see how it does in tournaments. I'm interested to see if there's like different lists that end up popping up.
Yeah, I certainly think the Mono Shurima list is definitely in a bit of a weird flux right now. There are some versions going around which I think don't run a lot of good cards, which little piece of advice for all you aspiring players, put good cards in your decks. But yeah, they're not running a bunch of good cards, so they're losing a lot of points. They're not running things like Quicksand, they're not running things like Devout. They're running like Dune Keepers, which don't really do much for the deck. And I think the deck, the mid-range beatdown plan of the deck, I think is probably a little bit underrated, but I think like the power of the disc is really overrated. It's like a very strong like tier 2 deck, and I think a lot of people don't understand. It has this like almost like Star Springs aspect to it, where it's like very mid-rangey on the board, but it has this completely almost like uninteractable win con that it can just kill you out of nowhere with.
Interesting. I would say it's tier 1. I think it's tier 1, but just like it's just one of the better decks. But I guess that's like a.
Nah, I don't think it ever.
Yeah,
I don't think it ever goes above tier 2, to be honest.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what you consider your tiers to be or whatever. But like it just absolute bodies a lot of decks.
Mhm.
It beats a lot of decks. Like it warped the format around.
Yeah,
it.
but like a lot of decks body it.
Yeah,
Not
it's
a
got
lot.
really, really polarized
So, like,
matchups.
but-
Pantheon
It
beats
loses
it.
a
All
lot.
these new these
Talia beats it. Yia beats it. Like every form of aggro beats
anything
it.
with elusive or
I don't know.
overwhelm
no,
beat it.
every form of aggro. Not every form of aggro. Yeah.
Burn.
Scouts
more like
might
burn,
not.
I think.
Scouts might not beat it, but I think even Scouts is probably fine. I haven't looked at the stats, but thinking about how that matchup would go, Scouts kind of can end the game by turn 6 if it gets a good draw. So I would
Maybe it's
imagine it's
fine
pretty
just
close.
because Scouts doesn't have keywords, so you can jump block forever, which is kind of
Yeah.
what Shreem wants to do until they flip the Sun Disc.
Yeah, so most like
That's true.
aggro or cheese decks do beat it at the moment, but
Yeah.
that's kind of expected, right? Like especially all the Victor and elusive cheese decks and ambush decks. I mean,
Mhm.
I
can only
yeah, I was gonna say not to mention like
quicksands, and then
half
you
the
gotta
builds
draw
don't
them.
run quicksand, so that kind of
Yeah, well, there's that too.
ruins it there. Also for scouts, it's like
How do you
47%.
Run quicksand.
Yeah.
Well, a certain content creator.
Oh,
put
you didn't
up-
have any
uh,
quicksand?
Yeah, you run
A
all the
video.
bad cards
Yeah.
instead.
That's
Yeah,
you're
so
playing
funny.
Yeah,
Mhm.
0.
the 0 mana
It's an
predict
all-in
card because
flip.
you gotta find your champions,
We're
bro.
leveling Echo.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think Sundisk could actually be like
I-
low tier 1
Okay,
because
To be honest,
maybe.
Yeah.
once things start evening out, it'll show, right? Because like it's the
I
usual
guess
week
so.
one
I
shenanigans
just
stuff.
wonder
Right?
if.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. It just seems like this time things are taking a lot longer to settle down. Like usually by day 3 or 4 of a meta, we kind of know where it's going. Right now, it still feels like everything's really up in the air. Like Fizz-Aphelios just popped up a day ago. There's all these new decks that are still
There's,
continuing
like-
to come out and be
there's
developed.
like 3 new
this
Lee Sin
metagame.
decks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like part of the reason that that's happening, that's not like just settled, that it's not just like boom, Yordle Arms is the best or whatever the deck is, and then everything kind of like falls along with it. It's because MonteXristo is like this weird freaking deck that's just kind of sitting on the format, and you like so you have to play these like traditionally not like good decks. Well, I mean Yordle Arms is, but like I don't know, the ambush decks and the cheese decks that usually just get pushed out by like Aphelios, right? Aphelios would come in, just be like, everyone fuck off. But MonteXristo crushes Aphelios and quite a few other decks like that.
Yeah.
Aphelios does not beat MonteXristo.
If they're on quicksand.
You also don't have an easy
If
way
they
to deal
run
with Sun Disc.
Which Aphelios? Which?
I'm
Aphelios
currently
list are we
all of
talking
them.
about? The Targon
So
one?
this is from Majin Bey himself, the lover of Aphelios and all things Aphelios. And he's tried them all.
Hmm.
And he's like, it's just not.
Okay.
It's not happening.
I was having success with the Fizz list. That's actually the only matchup I've won.
Oh,
But
does that count as an
I do
Aphelios
want to
deck?
talk about Fizz-Aphelios. Yeah, I do.
does it?
I do want to talk about Fizz-Aphelios later, but like, Fizz-Aphelios is like barely an Aphelios deck compared to how the rest of the Aphelios decks tried to play.
What's in it?
It's a very
Yeah,
cool
that's true.
deck, though.
Fizz
I want to
and
talk about it
Aphelios.
later.
It's just a Fey deck with Aphelios?
It's the Fey deck.
Yeah, the attached
pretty
package.
much. I posted it
Oh,
in
right.
the team in our
Yeah,
that
we
thing,
brought
yeah.
this up
No.
in the Runeterra show, and everyone was like, "Is this the Drizzloff deck?" Yeah, it's just a
Yeah.
pile of like we're like it looks like a pile of cards. Drizzloff was in the chat. He's like, "It is a pile." But like
It is
I don't get it. I don't, like explain to me. Is it good, Monty? Because like okay,
It's a tempo deck. I like it. I haven't figured out how to close with it, but I think that is a problem with me and like not knowing how to use Aphelios properly because it's been a while. Also, I was really distracted when I was playing it. Majin put me in a video. That was funny. I got to go back and watch that and be like, I misplayed here. I misplayed here. I misplayed here. I think the deck has legs. Darkodius is really high on it. Drizzot's really high on it. I think it still needs refinement. I don't think it's in its final stage yet, but I do think it's a good deck. It felt good to play. I'm also biased towards anything with Fizz in it, though. So take that with a grain of salt, I suppose.
What about
you like
those
Fizz, huh?
Lee Sin decks
I do.
that you were
Oh,
talking
boy.
about? Are any of them good?
Yes.
I think Hanzo was playing,
Um,
right? Hanzo was playing a lot of them.
Victor Lee's insane.
Yeah.
I think Victor Lee's is insane. Like, I've been playing that deck since yesterday, and that's the only deck I've been playing after Sir Tournament beat me, and I'm like, hey, can you send me this? This deck looks insane. And then I start climbing, like, a lot. Like I lost like the first few games because I'm still learning it, but after I get the hang of it, like I think it's an insane deck because like getting to run deny with Victor just or with ambush technically is just like insane because your opponent cannot attack with you. If they attack with you, they lose. Even if they don't, they still lose. So it's like
See, that's what happened to me earlier when I played you. I didn't attack and then I lost.
yeah, that's the thing, right?
Yeah,
Like you
it
interact
just-
with me, you lose. You don't, you still lose. It's just
That's interesting because Majin said he had the same experience. He lost his first 2 games, was kind of like, I don't know about this, and then picked it back up on stream and like didn't lose any, climbed like 150 LP or something. And I had the same sort of experience. I played like 1 or 2, and I think I lost. I was like, I felt like I probably should have won. I just didn't know exactly what I was supposed to be doing. And I'm like, now hearing you say that, I'm like, oh fuck, I should probably go back and give him another shot.
yeah. After you get the hang of it, it's just I don't know, just very straightforward. I think it's really really powerful. I'm like at this point, I'm like fairly confident that this is a very solid tier 1 deck in the meta right now.
Sick. What kind of like little tidbits can you give us about like how to play and stuff? Because I one very unfortunate thing, I remember like I controlled the game, felt great, but there was like a moment where my opponent was like coming back into it, and I was like, it's okay, I got Lee. I'm like, I'm just gonna hit them for 4? The fuck? Like just died after that. Did not feel good.
Lee's like it's so weird to me that like in this deck Lee is actually just a support, it's actually a burn card that he brings for every
Yeah,
single attack, and I think that's crazy. And a lot of times that for them just gets you there. Like you just have to look at like I guess 2 turns ahead for me at least. Like hey, they played this, what should I do now? Like because it's hard to explain what this deck like. I feel like it's a burn deck, but it's also not because you have all these bots and you're just like chipping damage early on, and you just have to figure out what's the thing you need to like play around your opponent to close out the game. It's either with elusives or like with this like cheap least in burn, and then either with mystic shot like game plan.
You
Like,
just
it's
like
very
piece it
flexible.
together basically.
Yeah. Like there's so many ways you can put it together. You just have to find out the best way to dance around opponent's cards.
Interesting.
So you're telling me it's slow burn?
Oh, good.
It's
We made
literally
that
slow
joke
burn, I
already,
think, in a way.
I haven't.
How often are you hitting with like Victor Ambush? Is that like one of the main like damage producers, or
It's
bot
a
ambush?
it's a finisher for sure, but that's not like the main way to finish. The main way to finish is just cheap damage early and then listen to get the last few bit of damage off, and either with elusives or just ignites.
Oh, ignites, man. The deck just like I get it. It seems like it's good. People are winning with it. There's also the whole factor of like when something's new and people don't know what the hell you're doing. Like you get a
surprise
huge
factor.
edge on
That's-
them.
Mhm.
The surprise factor is like pretty big. But like ignite is like what? There's like so many cards that just like don't go together in like a good sort of way. Like ignite is like the fuck.
Like don't underestimate like the one damage. Like it powers up very fast.
Sure.
Like you would be at like almost lethal
Yeah,
range,
especially with like
before you know it.
the augment, right, from bot or Victor.
Yeah.
One thing I'll also say, like playing against the deck, just like or playing against like Lee Sin decks in general, especially one like this where it's really okay to just like chill out, stack Victor keywords, stack augment, cast ignition. Like it's really hard to play into them on their attack token because not only do you have to worry about like the oops I kill you factor, but even if you're saying like okay they can't kill me here, if they have like this Lee Sin down, it's just not only is it deal for like Hanzo was saying, it just recalls your unit. It just ruins your tempo. Like it's so hard to like aggress on them when they just recall your big threat, like every attack token while they're slowly setting up their kill. And then they get to have these cards like refuge, palm, like deny. So they have a lot of protection for when they decide to go like, okay, I'm gonna kill you. Or to protect from you trying to kill them on your token.
Yeah. Do you ever just trade Lee off because he's not as important as like he is in like a Lee Sin deck, Zoe Lee Sin deck?
Well, it depends. Like It just depends on the situation.
Yeah, I was curious if you were treating it more like a Vi, and you were just like, okay, if you like bit it.
Something like a Vi.
You know what I mean? Like Vi gets in there a lot of times, and she like eats a piece of removal or something.
Well, if I have enough damage, then yeah, probably. But like, if I need that last bit of like damage, then I'm obviously gonna save it. It just depends. Like I said, it just depends on the situation you're in. Like, how do you piece the last bit of damage together to win?
Right. What else? What else? Has anyone playing? Has anyone been playing Moon Boy?
Yes.
Not really.
Not really. I don't want to play a mirror yet.
Just that little bit. I played a
I
little
played
bit of
Aphelios.
Victor Aphelios, and that deck did not feel good on ladder because all I was seeing was Mono
Yeah,
Stream.
I played Victor Aphelios too.
So I kind of
And well, I played I think
yeah.
1 Vi, 2 Victor. It was like a mix of them. And then I also played the Shadow Isles
Yeah,
version.
I think that's better, right?
Yeah, Bay said he didn't like Victor in the deck. He was on Vi
Mhm.
Zoe,
I think
which kind of makes sense.
Diana's like really good too with Aphelios in the Shadow Isles. Like that kind of deck, right? Like
Yeah, well, I thought it would be because that was a deck from like back in the day, right? But like it seemed like that was the first one people tried, and it kind of like I don't know if Shadow Isles is just maybe not very good right now, but it seemed like it didn't do particularly well.
I think people were still building
like
it
the builds
like
play a lot of
mono Targon still, like with Mountain Scryer and stuff. But I don't think that's good anymore. So when you realize that, you can start throwing in like more Vengeance or like Shadow Isles removal as well. But yeah,
I think that's the way you should go.
And then there's also the Noxus version that's popping up as well.
I played a bit of that.
There's a Nox
Yeah,
version?
you run like the Swain removal package essentially with like Phlox and Scorched Earths.
Yeah. Yeah, the Scorch was like there, just to counter Mono Shrima.
Oh, that one. That one's okay. That one seems interesting.
Yeah, it's so.
I've seen that one a lot. That was the one I saw the most for a long time, and I didn't think it was particularly great. I thought it was like okay.
Yeah, I found that one a bit underwhelming as well. It felt just like a bit awkward for them to do a lot of stuff, and like Aphelios decks are weak to you open attacking, but this one playing like the Sentries and the Sunhawks felt like extra weak to like open attack. Like at a lot of times my opponents would like Sentry me on their turn because they have to play units.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many different versions. Has anyone played any Yordle in ARMS?
No.
I've played a bit. As the resident Yordle in ARMS player.
Of course,
It's still good.
Which
yeah.
one?
I haven't played
which
that
version?
much, but it's one of the P decks. PNZ. Yeah, I haven't touched the Demacia version. I've heard it's still good, but it got hit like more than the PNZ version.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder to get away from Telescope in that version. I got away from Telescope on the PNZ version because you have a lot easier time like activating the requirement, where that's not the case in the Demacia version. And then you just play like Mayors or Scrap Heaps instead, just something to hit that extra multi-region. And you still kill people fast, so pretty good.
Yeah, I've played with the Fizzloo version, and I've had pretty good success with it. I don't really know what I'm doing, just following CardGamer's article on masteringruneterra.com premium if you want to check that. No, I'm just kidding. I want to read that.
That was a
I'm just clicking. No, I did. I did read it. And I'm still winning. I'm winning a decent amount. And I got I'm playing a different deck though. I got bodied by the Demacia version. I was like, oh, people still playing that? That's cute. And dear Lord God, did I ever get slammed? Just killed so hard. I was like, yeah, maybe I should be trying this. Like maybe everyone's just sleeping on it and just like, that happens, right? A deck takes some nerfs and everyone's just like, oh, it's bad now. It must be. And it takes people such a long time to come back to it. Like that deck was oppressive. And it took like a little bit of a nerf. I don't think it's like that bad. So yeah, I'm interested.
Happens all the time.
Well, I don't know if I'm interested in trying it. Yeah, totally, right? It's a classic. It's a classic. Like Darkness is another one. I'm pretty sure Darkness is actually like pretty good right now. It's like, okay, you lose to MonteXristo, you probably beat like everything else. Like you beat Aphelios. You're probably good into how's it into your arms, CardGamer?
So It's okay. It's one of your worst matchups. The version of Darkness people were on last season to be good against that field with a lot of Demacia. It was like pretty playable because they were like low on whales, but Darkness is a really bad matchup, especially if they have whale. It's just like play captain and hope they don't answer it, or like go next.
Yeah, so like that seems like pretty hot. You're good into like Pantheon, Yordle in Arms, and Moonboy. Like those are like 3 of the top decks. But like very few people are playing Darkness right now. Because like what? Because their 3/2 turned into a 2/2 and their Conchologist can't block 1-power things anymore. Like,
I think it's more because of MonteXristo. I like Darkness is perfectly fine playing Conchologist and the other card. It's just like a small percentage edge.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. That's for sure the reason. But like MonteXristo is not as popular now, right? I actually don't know. Do you guys know like today how much it's fallen off?
I have not had time to play the game in a day, so I have no idea.
Yeah.
I played against a few today, so I guess it's still okay.
Mm-hmm. I saw like 1 or 2 today, out of like a handful of games. So it's still prevalent, but like way less than it was 5 days ago.
It's probably like second, being beaten out by like Riven Victor is probably taking the #1 spot.
Just like Victor in general, like half of my games are against Victor with whatever Lee Sin, Nami, Diana, Zoe, Vi, whoever.
Yeah, like Monty said, I didn't think that buff would make that big of a difference. So like, okay, the people that love it will still give it a try or whatever. But like, fucking cheating on mana is still good.
Yeah, but that's the funniest thing, Jason. I'm literally the biggest Victor fan.
Oh, that's
I
right.
played Victor probably more than anybody. I won that
That's
tournament
right.
that you invited me to with a Victor deck. And I did not think it would make him viable. I was so sure that it would just be irrelevant because it still takes 5 turns to set him up, and you're still just going to use him just to generate the card. And like sometimes if he pops off, and it's an advantage. But no, he's actually a stable card that goes off most games now and demands removal is crazy.
Yeah, he's pretty damn good. Is there anything else you guys have been anything you guys have been playing that you're liking?
Overwhelm.
Oh, tell me about it.
It's pretty okay. I think I've played like 7 games and I'm like just over 60 or close to 60%. So it's like okay.
Are you talking
Which
about
version?
Darius
No,
Mar,
it's the Shurima Freljord one. Hanzo actually made me.
Oh, the one.
Yeah, he sent it to me.
Oh, the one that. Okay.
like the old Overwhelm list?
Yeah,
like,
it's kind of like that. Let me find.
It's a little bit
Fury
crazy.
type.
Yeah. Let me see if I could find a list. But I think it was.
That deck was
pretty
like a
much the
tournament
same.
staple for a while. Like it kept like lingering around, and I always like kind of try to pick it up now and then to see if it's good to the meta again. And I was wondering if it was this season, but I was like, I don't know. If everyone's on like, this is the one thing. Everyone's like, you suggest a deck, and everyone's like, oh, but everyone's on Quicksand. It's like a deck is on Quicksand, and like they have 3 of them. Like it's not, it's not the end all be all.
No, you gotta watch out for Akshan Lee Sin to be on Quicksand.
That's right.
That's true.
Oh, no.
Yeah, the only real like change to the deck was like just adding in like a pair of the new spell, the Desert Strike or Desert Duel Strike. Duel, yeah.
Desert Duo.
Oh yeah.
And then
That's a pretty big upgrade.
yeah, and you can also play like triple ice shard, right? Just for like a year or whatever.
Sick.
So it's okay.
How many of you is everyone playing in the Runeterra Academy?
Yeah.
What is that? I never heard of it.
What's everyone
Wait, well,
for that and for like this Saturday, I'm curious what people are thinking about for lineups. Like we were just like having a powwow yesterday and like trying to figure out lineups or whatever. But it's like, what does a lineup even look like in like today's day and age? Like the meta's like pretty turned upside down. I didn't want to catch Fight Night. I saw some of Kever's win with his like crazy like he had like a classic go hard deck and like Sentinels, and I forget what his third deck was. It was like all controlling. Field Rush maybe? No.
Yeah,
Fresh
Field
Ace.
Rush,
Yeah, I think so.
Oh.
Fresh
and,
Ace Soul and Fresh
yeah,
Ace
Fresh Ace
Soul.
Soul,
yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah, he played a what am I list or what am I lineup. That was hype, but he also said that was just because he fully expected pure aggro and wanted to roll the Fight Night That was the meta read that he had for that tournament.
Mhm.
I think that lineup could be viable if you wanted to play it in like if you had a read on a
Mhm.
on a tournament meta, you could play something like that. As far as for RA, we're just trying to counter Roji's team. We lost them in first round of playoffs last time, and they're our first matchup this time. So we're just trying to counter them. Also, I'm casting. I'm not playing, so I'm just doing scouting and prep work with the team. So Cheezer's coming back from the bench. For those of you who don't know Cheezer, dude, longtime player, has been a little bit away from the game for a while, but super strong. You should keep an eye out for his stats in RA because he'll be making an appearance here or there when I take to the caster desk.
Nice. Do you know already what teams are going to be cast?
They usually tell us,
They
right?
posted it, I thought.
highlight
Yeah, I
them.
think so.
Actually don't know who's.
I wonder if
Cast.
my team will get
I haven't
cast
looked
in the
yet.
regular season this time.
Did you not get cast once?
I thought they tried to feature every team once.
Yeah,
last
and
time.
then they didn't feature us because
Easy scheduled,
MMI versus Beautiful.
Oh yeah.
No, they wanted to show
Scammed.
MMI versus Beautiful. Yeah, we got scammed.
I mean, nobody wants to like see third place, anyways.
Yeah. Even though that was the match for third place.
It's okay. So if you guys let's go with Saturday. Say we're playing a tournament this Saturday, potentially like I don't know a $500 one for
Mhm.
free that you could play at MasteringRuneterra.com potentially, hypothetically. What would you be looking to bring and why? What do you think other people? What do you think would be popular? Give your thoughts.
I think people will bring MonteXristo and like they'll jam it in some lineup somehow because they just think the be all
Good.
end all, right? They think it'll either eat a ban or they could snipe a few people and just ban its bad matchups. And they probably think like, I mean, who's really going to bring like a triple aggro lineup these days, right? Which
Yeah.
brings me
And
to
does
that's
MonteXristo
another
just like
one.
do you think it just gets rolled by triple aggro? Is it like
Not rolled?
real
It's
bad?
just not favored. Like it's not like an instant like loss or
Yeah.
anything. Because like you can still do nutty stuff with like Xerath on 4 with like Roiling Sands or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it's
Yeah.
more likely that
Or-
people bring like the counter lineup to that. So like Riven Victor, Yours and Arms, and I'm not sure what a third deck would be, but expecting a lot of Mushroom and trying to counter that.
Yeah, the real arms
Yeah, I
are
can see
probably
all that
popular too. Yeah, but it's also like scary because I think that would be the most targeted deck out there, right? Or at least it should be.
Mm-hmm.
I will say though, like as far as bringing MonteXristo, like the way you win versus these like aggressive strategies that want to kill you is like very straightforward. It isn't like hard to execute. You just have to like hit it and play it. So it isn't the deck I would be the most uncomfortable like having to win one of two unfavored matchups. Like there's a lot more decks where I'm like, okay, I feel like really bad playing like double unfavored matchups with this.
And you also get a ban too, right? So like
Mhm.
whichever one you feel the most uncomfortable with, it's just banned.
Yeah. I like this takes.
Mm-hmm. I mean, other lineups would be like what? Probably like Demacia, triple Demacia or something. Like you can still
Sure.
run like Sivir Auction, like Pantheon, and I don't know what the third would
Scouts?
be. I guess Scouts. I guess Scouts is okay still, right? Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's not. Oh, apparently it's doing okay on ladder. We just looked it up. It's like
Mhm.
57% or something.
Yeah. It's like
But
it's not,
I haven't
it's
really
not
seen it
bad.
for a while.
Yeah.
One thing though, Sivir Auction struggles against MonteXristo.
Yeah.
Just ban. That's my answer to everything.
Ban it.
Just ban it.
Just ban that. Not like that. Ban that.
Get it
Ban
out
that
of there.
also. Ban your third deck.
I mean, if I
Okay,
was
next
playing
match.
in the $500 MasteringRuneterra.com tournament this Saturday at April 9th, I'd probably bring
Hypothetically.
yes, hypothetically, I'd probably bring like something cheesy just to try it out. Like I'd probably bring like Targon Speak and like 2 other nonsense.
Yeah, especially first week.
I
Like,
I'm pretty sure I
think
could get away
bring
with like
garbage.
9 times like She Who
Yeah.
Wanders decks.
I think I would bring Mecha Yordles, and something else. I would just play a crappy Victor Rumble.
So
list
you'd go for
because
like the
it's
triple
fun.
aggro kind of like lineup sort of thing.
Yeah, I think I would go for triple aggro cheese. I think I would do like a Victor Rumble Bandle City PNC list because I think it's fun. I don't think it's good, but I think it's fun. And then I would probably put can't do Bandle PNC twice, so can't do that. Do Riven bots with Draven, I guess. Do Riven Draven instead of Riven Victor. Or maybe split these champions up differently so these decks make more sense, but I would do a triple aggro thing. I would do Bandle City PNC, I would do Nox PNC, and then the third list would be... What's the other
Can't you line
cheese
it up?
regions? Oh, it'd be Talia Ziggs probably is what I would
Talia
bring that
Ziggs.
third slot, just because
Yeah,
that's fun too.
Pleasing's pretty legit.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what I would bring. Right now, if I had to pick something to play in this tournament, I would be hypothetically be playing this weekend. I'd probably choose like Yorlin Arms and then some Aphelios pile, probably Aphelios by Zoe, and probably some Victor pile. I think those are probably just some of the best decks you can be playing with relatively flat matchups. Just give yourself like a good bit of agency. What Victor pile? I don't know. Kind of sounds like it might be Lee Sin at this moment, but yeah.
Playing that deck as soon as we get off of here.
Yeah, I'm gonna check it out as well.
Phansora, what do you got?
Probably I'd probably run some Lee Sin, whether it's Akshan or Victor. Viego Kindred has felt pretty good as long as you don't. So the funny thing with Viego is if you're up against MonteXristo and they level Xerath, it obliterates the unit, so you can no longer level Viego once there's a flipped Xerath on the board. Yeah, it's not fun.
I don't get it.
So Viego levels when like 20 power worth of units die. But because Xerath obliterates it, it's like Exile in Magic. So it doesn't count as them
Right,
dying.
okay.
So you just can't win with Viego anymore. You have to kill Xerath, and they have another Xerath in hand. So yeah, I'd probably just be on some sort of a ban Shurima or ban MonteXristo and go Lee Sin, Viego Kindred has felt pretty good, and something else.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Viego Kindred list. I'm interested. What so you've been playing it? Like, what are your matchups like outside of like MonteXristo? Like, how do you against like a Aphelios, Yorlin Arms, some of the other popular decks?
Yorlin Arms has always been kind of rough. Like the Victor decks, you can kind of be fine because you have hard kill and they can't do much about that. And even if they roll Spell Shield, you can sometimes work around it. And just like Kindred makes it harder for them to keep their stuff alive because you can like shoot one of their small guys and then kill a Ballistic Bot. What else?
Yeah.
Aphelios you probably beat just because your things grow too big.
Yeah. Viego always shits on Aphelios.
The issue, in my experience of playing Viego into like these Targon Aphelios piles, is when they have Zoe, because then they start to get like access to the cheap Celestials, which can like really do a number on you. Just like doing tempo plays with Crescent, flipping a Zoe is like really good against you if they like Moonblow it, and then it's hard to interact. And just like getting multiple Equinoxes for your Hydra Vine. But if they don't have Zoe and like they don't play Sketchers, I feel really good as Viego into Targon piles.
I think it's a bit better than that, just because like Kindred, even if you don't kill Zoe with like a Vile Feast or whatever, Kindred's almost always targeting Zoe. So as long as you keep Kindred alive, you'll kill Zoe.
Yeah.
And that goes through Moonglow and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. They can flip their Zoe kind of quick though. So it can get a bit scary, but like, yeah, it is not the worst. It's like very beatable, but I would say that's when it starts to feel like not favored anymore as Viego. When they start to like actually get a lot of ways to interact with your like big things that matter effectively.
Interesting.
Like once Viego flips, the matchup's always like just auto wins in my experience. So even though Zoe like levels, I'm now usually like in a worry because all I need to care is Viego flips because all their big stuff is technically just
like
mine.
Viego flipping closes games out at about the same speed that Sundisk flipping does. Because you're essentially pinging off a unit by stealing it every turn or killing their champion, and then you're also summoning like a 7/7 unit.
Yeah, for sure. Cameron, what would you bring?
Yeah, it's like almost the same dance Phansora. Like I will bring Victor, Lee right now, Viego, and Thralls. because I think Thralls is very underrated right
Oh,
now.
finally! I've been waiting for this. Last season, like I'm feeling like, is it good now? He's like, no, you can't play it now. Is it good now? Like, no, it's so bad now. Fuck.
The Thralls is a very weird deck. Like it's just always there. Like I don't think it's just always there. Like it's not gonna go away. Like I think it's playable in every meta.
Even
It's
with
just
everyone
especially
playing
Is it-
Scorched Earth?
Yeah, I never find Scorch Earth a problem at all as Thralls. Like I'm actually I enjoy a lot playing into those decks. I think it's
Yeah,
really
trust. I remember playing against you and being like, I got 2 Scorchers, bitch, and I died horribly. Did not feel good. Because what you just be really careful about when you're taking them down and when you're copying them and when you're adding the extra spell that copies.
Yeah, the thing you have to remember against Scorch deck is like you can permanently hold them 3 mana hostage, and I think that's something really broken to do. And the point is that your things are gonna keep ticking down anyways. They scorch it or not. At some point they have to. Like if you have multiple Thralls on board, like eventually they have to do it, and that's the point where you start putting your stuff on it.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's very like landmark removal is just not a problem. Like the only one that's problematic right now is Peak, because Peak they have the 8-drop, and that you cannot play around.
Yeah, that makes sense. Luckily, that deck is not particularly good. Can you play Thralls on a ladder?
It's not very good.
Wait, whoa.
You think Peak's
No,
good?
what?
I think it's not like great right now. Your MonteXristo matchup's rough, but I do think Peak's a good deck.
I think that MonteXristo matchup is a little closer than rough. There are, like, you can turbo out if that stairs, and that's happened a few times.
Yeah, like that can happen, but at that point it just kind of becomes like deny check, right? Like, can I make enough deny threats to go over you?
I mean,
over
Because
7,000
it's
matches, it has a
faster.
50% win rate.
what's
So-
the peak matchup, though?
Sorry.
Or not the peak, Sundisk.
Let's see. It has a 53% win rate.
Yeah, so in my experience, peak. So if you're playing peak right into Sundisk, you simply don't play any units, and they can't ever flip Xerath. Like you have to, as the Sundisk player, be setting up to kill all your landmarks yourself. And especially like all these decks that are running predicts instead of like Bread of the Arcane, they can't get to 4, so they can't flip Xerath.
Yeah,
Yeah, they need to
I
stop.
do think this deck is like kind of getting carried a lot by the fact, like the matchup's getting carried a lot by the fact people are on the predict version.
Like even still, you have to like going into the matchup know I need to kill 4 landmarks, and like even more so than everything else because you can't rely on rolling sands as you normally can.
And what happens when you flip Xerath?
Well, then you win the game, but like it's hard to do. It's harder to do when your opponent doesn't play any units. Which like
Why do you win the game?
because you flipped Sundisk and you
Oh,
pined them with
okay.
Xerath.
Oh, all the way.
No, yeah. So I'm saying like when Peak doesn't play any units, flipping Xerath is so much harder, and like that's honestly a bit more important than flipping Azir. I mean, you need both, but like needing the Xerath is the harder one.
Gotcha. Okay, I get what you're saying now. Hanzo, can you play Thralls on the ladder?
Yes, you
What's
can. I'm just not playing because I'm trying to explore. So yeah, otherwise I'll be.
how's it
spamming
against
Thralls.
like MonteXristo?
MonteXristo, you kind of have to raise, and I think it's fairly even. Because, like, you know, it's the same thing with Peak. Like, you don't play units, you just play landmarks and you just predict and count down. It just matters, like, you can get 2 landmarks down because like, it also depends if they run the 4 drop or not. I just always assume they do. So I
Desert
play around
Naturalist.
it just depends if So it just depends if you can race it out or not. But I think it's pretty even. Other than that, I think everything else is like pretty
What
favored.
about Fizz Lulu?
Because Fizz Lulu, we're always favored because we're on 3 ice shards, so and we run Avalanche and Ravine, so that matchup is like free.
What? CardGamer?
So I think if you're on 3 ice shard, the matchup's going to be like better, but I wouldn't say it's like free or super favored. I think that Yordle Captain like carries that matchup pretty hard. I think
So for everybody watching right now, remember these are two one tricks discussing their decks, so both of them are biased, and both of their opinions of the decks are
I am
informed.
a
That
But-
said, I'm with CardGamer. I don't think it's nearly as free
I'm
as
also-
Hanzo
I am a
says.
Thralls lover as well.
I also
Uh,
know both of them to be very honest in their interpretation of things.
Yes. Nah, Hanzo boosts Thralls all the time. Let's not fool our viewers here. Hanzo talks Thralls up.
Look, when
He loves that deck, but that's okay. You just gotta the same way I talk up everything that like reputation decks.
Dude,
all
you
the
said
time.
ambush was good for so long, it finally became good. So, I mean, give it to you.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, CardGamer. I cut you off to make a funny point.
you're good, I was just gonna say, like, when you play and draw in Thralls like Hanzo, like, yeah, of course you're gonna think you're like winning every matchup. But
True.
I do think the deck should be pretty good on ladder. I do think Yorlin Arms is like a super playable matchup, and I've kind of also hold Cameron's belief that like Thralls has always been playable. Last meta has probably been the worst meta for Thralls ever, and that was just because
Yeah, it's just because of
yeah,
Pantheon.
Pantheon and Rally, I think, are like the two things that actually give Thralls a really hard time. And it was just all over last season.
I'm gonna put some Thralls.
Yeah, so I'll probably be jamming Frost right now because he just shits on Philios as well. So yeah, you guys should try it.
It shits on what?
The Philios.
Oh. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would assume so. Yeah, I mean, that sounds pretty good.
Also, question about the.
It's definitely good
Oh,
right
sorry.
now. Sorry.
I was gonna ask you about the Sun Disc matchup for Thralls real quick. That's a matchup where it's really important to get 4 Thralls out on your combo turn, I'm guessing, to get around Quicksand.
You do. So that's why that's why I think it's pretty even. Like it just depends on who races faster. Like, do they have the 4 mana or do they not? Or like, do you have little tools you need to combo out turn 6 or 7 to finish up the game
Mhm.
or not? And you're not scared of their aggro as well because all your stuff, like Avalanche clears the board anyways.
Yeah.
It's going to be a really interesting tournament meta. There's like Aphelios control decks that poop on like the aggro or like ambush decks, and then there's like the landmark decks that get beat and then beat. It just seems like there's like a pretty good like rock paper scissors type environment. Any other decks or topics of interest?
I mean, I've got one deck which I'm curious about because no one mentioned it. Tribeam. It's been pretty popular, but no one wants to bring it through lineups. I think it's bad, and this seems like everyone else does too.
I think it's bad.
I think it's
I'm
very
not a
bad.
Tribeam gamer.
I
never
love
have been.
Tribeam.
So bad.
I love me some Tri-Beam, and let me tell you, there's nothing worse than scorched earthing a sun disc and then getting your face smashed in, which happens all the time.
I just know that
That was
I've played against Tribeam quite a bit just because it's popular, and I've beaten it with every which deck. Like, it doesn't seem strong.
yeah, it's not particularly
Even with Viego, it's beatable.
yeah. It's just like it's a little underpowered.
Yeah.
Like you just get like you get like outraced, you get out card advantage, you even get out tempoed. Your stuff is just not as powerful as it used to be. I cast all 3 Tri-Beams against my Aphelios opponent and then just ran out of cards and died. It's like
Is your Tribeam better than the Great Beyond?
yeah, it was not. No.
Yeah. I mean, I said this like last season, or last patch, I guess is more accurate. Tribeam isn't a good deck. You're playing a bunch of very okay cards because they do really well into Demacia. And then, hey, look, they nerfed Demacia and people don't want to play Demacia anymore. So Tribeam just isn't what it used to be. Like last patch it was positioned well, and then a while ago we used to run way more powerful cards, especially like relative to the meta. And even like another thing I think that's important, you were mentioning the Aphelios matchup. The value decks, like the decks that had value last patch, were like a lot more manageable for like Tribeam to deal with than like this Targon Aphelios value, because it was like random Bandle value and like Darkness, which is also doing random Bandle value, plus it's like generating like the Darknesses themselves. But you're pretty good at dealing with like Sennas as Tribeam, so you could kind of handle that. But like Aphelios with this protection, and then like the healing and the star shapings and the Great Beyond is like a lot for Tribeam to try and deal with, and it just like can't keep up.
Yeah, agreed. Anything else? All right. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised. We on the Runeterra show, we kind of just like sort of just ran out of stuff to talk about. Even though there's so much, there's like so many decks, you can like really dive into them. It's almost like there's too much. It's like you can't like go deep on any one thing because like you would just miss all the other stuff. And I feel like next week after we have the tournament, we have some Runeterra Academy weeks going by, and like another week of the ladder coalescing. I think things will get a lot more interesting. We'll start to be able to do like some like deeper dives into like the top decks and like counters to them and stuff. But if that's it, if no one has anything else, then we will say good night. Say good night to the people, and we'll see you guys again next week. Peace.
Yeah, take care, everyone.
Good night, guys.
Bye.